Hello, my friends. Here we are again with Danny, champion of the world. Boy, a lot has happened. We've learned about Danny and how excited we are for him and his dad as they go out into Mr. Victor Hazel's wood and getting ready to poach these pheasants to save them from all the hunters that are coming to shoot them. And we are at a point where the last chapter was in the woods, and we know what Danny and his dad did in the woods. They put out those raisins that have sleeping powder inside them, that they slit open the raisins, and they put the sleeping powder in, and then they sewed it back up, and then they threw out the raisins, and all the pheasants ate them. And this was Danny's great idea, and his dad was so proud of him. And so now the pheasants have just jumped up into the trees to go to sleep, and the keepers, who are the ones that have the guns and try to keep people off Mr. Victor Hazel's woods, are getting ready to leave too, because once the pheasants are in the trees, then the keepers don't need to be there anymore. But aha, what's going to happen, we're hoping, is that the pheasants will start to get drowsy and then fall out of the trees, and then Danny and his dad will pick up the pheasants, put them in a bag, and take them away without harming them. So that's the big plan. But right now where we're at is Danny and his dad have just finished throwing out the raisins. The pheasants have eaten them and gone up into the trees, and Danny and his dad have walked back out of the woods, and now they're sitting outside the hedge next to the road. So now we are at chapter 15, The Keeper. And we all know who the keepers are. The keepers are the ones that have the guns that shoot people that try to get onto Mr. Victor Hazel's woods. So let's see what this chapter says about the keeper. We sat on the grassy bank below the hedge, waiting for darkness to fall. The sun had set now, and the sky was a pale smoke blue, faintly glazed with yellow. In the wood behind us, the shadows and the spaces in between the trees were turning from gray to black. You could offer me anywhere in the world at this moment, my father said, and I wouldn't go. His whole face was glowing with happiness. We did it, Danny, he said, laying a hand gently on my knee. We pulled it off. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Terrific,
I said.
But it was a bit scary while it lasted.
Ah, but that's what poaching is all about, he said. It scares the pants off us. That's why we love it. Look, there's a hawk. I looked where he was pointed, and I saw a sparrow hawk hovering superbly in the darkened sky above the plowed field across the track. It's his last chance for supper tonight, my father said. He'll be lucky if he sees anything now. Except for the swift fluttering of its wings, the hawk remained absolutely motionless in the sky. It seemed to be suspended by some invisible thread, like a toy bird hanging from the ceiling. Then suddenly it folded its wings and plummeted toward the earth at an incredible speed. This was a sight that always thrilled me.
Well, what do you think he saw, Dad?
A young rabbit, perhaps, my father said, or a vole, or a field mouse. None of them have a chance when there's a sparrow hawk overhead. We waited to see if the hawk would fly up again. He didn't, which meant he had caught his prey and was eating it on the ground.
How long does it take for a sleeping pill to work?
I asked. I don't know the answer to that one, my father said. I imagine it's about half an hour.
It might be different with pheasants, though, Dad.
It might, he said. We gotta wait a while anyway, to give the keepers time to go home. They'll be off as soon as it gets dark. I brought an apple for each of us, he added, fishing into one of his pockets.
A Cox's orange pippin,
I said, smiling.
Thank you very much.
We sat there munching away. One of the nice things about Cox's orange pippins, my father said, is that the seeds rattle when it's ripe. Shake it, and you can hear them rattling. I shook my half-eaten apple. The seeds rattled. Look out, he whispered sharply. There's someone coming. The man appeared suddenly and silently out of the dusk and was quite close before my father saw him. It's another keeper, he whispered. Just sit tight and don't say a word. We both watched the keeper as he came down the track toward us. He had a shotgun under his arm, and there was a black Labrador walking at his heel. And here's a picture of the keeper. And you can see the gun and the black lab behind him. He doesn't look very nice. Not at all. "Good evening," my father said, nice and friendly. This one was a tall, bony man with a hard eye and a hard cheek and hard, dangerous hands. "Hey, I know you," he said, coming closer. "I know the both of you." My father didn't answer this. "You're from the filling station, right?" His lips were thin and dry with some sort of brownish crust over them. "You're from the filling station. That's your boy, and you live in that filthy old caravan, right?" "What are we playing?" my father said. 20 questions? The keeper spit out a big glob of spit, and I saw it go sailing through the air and landed with a plop on a patch of dry dust 6 inches from my father's plastered foot. It looked like a baby oyster lying there. "Beat it," the man said. "Go on, get out." When he spoke, his upper lip lifted above the gum, and I could see a row of discolored teeth. One of them was black. The others were brownish yellow, like seeds of a pomegranate. "This happens to be a public footpath," my father said. "Kindly do not mess with us." The keeper shifted the gun from left to right. "You're loitering," he said, "with the intent to commit a nuisance. I could run you in for that." "No, you couldn't," my father said. All of this made me rather nervous. "I see you broke your foot," the keeper said. "You didn't by any chance fall into a hole in the ground, did you?" "It's been a nice walk, Danny," my father said, putting a hand on his knee. "But it's time we went home for our supper." He stood up, and so did I. We wandered off down the track the way that we had come, leaving the keeper standing there. And soon he was out of sight in the half-darkness behind us. "That's the head keeper," my father said. "His name is Rabbits."
Do we have to go home, Dad?
"Home?" my father cried. "My dear boy, we're just beginning. Come in here." There was a gate on our right leading into the field, and we climbed over it, and we sat down behind the hedge. "Mr. Rabbits is also due for his supper," my father said. "You mustn't worry about him." We sat quietly behind the hedge, waiting for the keeper to walk past us on his way home. A few stars were showing, and a bright three-quarter moon was coming up over the hills behind us in the east. "We have to be very careful of that dog," my father said. "When they come by, hold your breath and don't move a muscle."
Well, won't the dog smell us out anyway?
I asked. "No," my father said. "There's no wind to carry the scent. Look out, here they come. Don't move." The keeper came loping softly down the track, with the dog padding quick and soft-footed at his heel. I took a deep breath and held it as they went by. When they were some distance away, my father stood up and said, "It's all clear. He won't be coming back tonight."
Are you sure?
"I'm positive, Danny."
What about the other one, the one in the clearing? He'll be gone too?
"Mightn't one of them be waiting for us at the
Mightn't one of them be waiting for us at the bottom of the track?
I asked.
By the gap in the hedge?
"There wouldn't be any point of him doing that," my father said. "There's at least 20 different ways of reaching the road when you come out of Hazel's wood. Mr. Rabbits knows that." We stayed behind the hedge for a few minutes, just to be on the safe side. "Isn't it a marvelous thought, though, Danny," my father said, "that there's about 200 pheasants at this very moment roosting up in those trees, and they're already beginning to feel groggy. Soon they'll be falling out of the branches like raindrops." The three-quarter moon was well above the hills now, and the sky was filled with stars, and we climbed back over the gate and began walking up the track toward the wood. And here's a picture of Danny and his dad going back to the wood, because now it's dark, and hopefully the keepers have gone home. The next chapter is the champion of the world. I wonder what that's all about. Because if you remember, the title of the book is Danny, Champion of the World. But now we are on a chapter that says the champion of the world. I wonder what that's all about. Guess we'll find out next time.